Good morning, I hope you're all doing well. Paul Flatterly, among several other people, have asked me about the Isle of Wight Festival, which, as I'm sure you know, was 50 years ago, this August, I think actually, and I'm wearing my reading glasses this morning for a reason, mainly because I'm trying to read some notes. I thought about the Isle of Wight Festival. Paul, you asked me about it. 1970 seems like a very strange time. If you look at 10 years after, we did, I'm referring to my notes here, we did 3 US tours, 2 UK tours, 2 German tours, a load of one-off dates and a recording. And, you know, some of these, let's have a look, February through to April, an American tour, June through to August, an American tour, and again, November through to December, an American tour. So those are long tours, not really strange. So if you look at the Isle of Wight Festival, which was the 29th of August when TYA played, it was a year after Woodstock, of course, and all the word, every festival that came after that, everyone was saying, is it going to be another Woodstock? And obviously, promoters hoped that it would be. As far as the numbers at the Isle of Wight Festival went, people said 600,000. I honestly don't know. I flew over it and it didn't look like that. And I'll show you a little bit of film. It's grainy and it's not very professional, but I'll show you that film and you can judge for yourself and guess how many people were there. And 1970 was, you know, after Woodstock, the band had been building, as I'm sure you all know, not just from the movie, but building. We were all doing well. We were living the life. We were living the life, really, that you dream of as a musician. We'd all got our houses in the country, and we'd all got our rock stars' cars and all those things. Alvin had a Jag, Chick had an Aston Martin, I think Rick had a Bentley, and I was actually on my second Bentley. I had a 56 Bentley Continental. So we were living the life. So we get back from America and we go to do to play the Isle of Wight Festival, which I didn't really know much about until we started to go down there. Apparently what happened, for those of you that don't know, the Isle of Wight's a little island off the coast of the UK. And you have to take a ferry. Well, 600,000 people all trying to get a ferry means that it's a total chaos. So our management, Chrysalis, at the time, decided, well, what we'll do, we'll charter a couple of planes. So I drove down to Hampshire and met up with the other guys, and we took a little 2-engine plane, 8-seater, 10-seater plane over to the Isle of Wight. And from there, from the airfield there, took a helicopter, reminiscent of Woodstock, of course, took a helicopter to the site itself. Apparently what had been happening over the few days was that there was a lot of French anarchists, as they were called. I think that these people felt that all music should be free, all festivals should be free. And they were causing a lot of trouble, breaking down fences and one thing and another. So much so that, although the great majority of people had paid for the tickets, they decided to make it a free festival. So by the time we got there, it was a free festival. And I'm just going to look and see who was on. I didn't catch the beginning because I got down the day of the gig, of course, and I saw Tiny Tim. Tiny Tim's the Tiptoe Through the Tulips speciality act. Tim I knew from the USA. We met a few times. I knew his management and his tour manager. So Tim was on, and then after Tim was Joni Mitchell. Joni, I liked some of her material, and the crowd gave her a hard time, mainly because of some guy that jumped on stage and started talking some sort of political thing in the middle of her set. It reduced Joni to tears, really, but she recovered and she came back on again and did a couple of encores, and in the end the crowd loved her. And then it was time, let me see, let me have just a double check here. Yes. Oh, Miles Davis. Miles Davis went on after Joni. Miles, again, we'd worked with at the Newport Jazz Festival in 1969. and on tour, Newport Jazz Festival on tour. So Miles I knew too, and then after Miles we went on TYA, and I think, and I've looked at it objectively, in fact last year, I think TYA did a really good set on that particular festival, even better than Woodstock, I thought, having looked at it in retrospect too. And I did hope that the record was going to be released this year. They'd sent me the tapes, asked if it was okay with me, and I, as usual, said, yeah, great. But it's still not been released, and I guess they're arguing over the various business interests. They're arguing over what the percentages are. It'd be a pity if it didn't come out, really, and it's a pity it hasn't already come out, but there we go. But we went on, we played our set, and I enjoyed it, and I hung around for a little time afterwards, but we were to have flown back on the same plane, back to Hampshire, and then I was going to drive back home. But the weather came down. As we got to the airfield, the weather came down. Well, one plane took off with Alvin and his girlfriend, Lorraine, at the time, and I think maybe Rick and his wife. They took off and they flew back, and then there was one plane left. Well, I volunteered. Being a single guy at the time, I said, well, I'll stay at the festival. So they organised a hotel, or actually a large private house for us to stay in, and we decided we'd stay overnight. That was our manager, Chris Wright, I think Andy Jaworski, our tour manager at the time, and Chick. Fortunately for Chick, the daughter of the lady of the house, Chick ended up marrying. So that was something that I remember about the Isle of Wight Festival. The next day, we flew back, and I was fortunate. When I was younger, I did get a glider pilot's license, and whilst I was at school in the Air Training Corps, which is like RAF cadets, if you like. So the pilot let me have a little go flying back, and I've got a little bit of a movie of that. Flying back, hanging on to the controls and keeping it steady really was what I did, but I remember that. But these were great times. I think 4 days later, we started a tour of Germany, and we played in Berlin with Jimi Hendrix again. I think that would be, let me have a look, refer to my notes as they say. 4 days later, September the 4th, Berlin Super Festival with Jimi Hendrix. And I remember talking to Jimmy at the time, and I felt, he didn't seem very happy or very contented, and I wondered what was wrong. Well, 12 days later, he died, of course. But 2 days after that, 10 years after, we were scheduled to play the Fairmont Isles with Jimi Hendrix, although I didn't see Jimmy there. What happened at the Fairmont Isles that particular year was the weather was bad. It's a very windy island. The weather was really windy. It rained an awful lot. Conditions were pretty terrible. This was going to be another Woodstock, of course, like every festival after Woodstock. And they made some mistake of doing a deal with a motorcycle gang, which eventually became a chapter of Hell's Angels, and they caused an awful lot of trouble. Fights broke out. I believe some people were stabbed. I did hear that they set fire to one of the caravans that was used as a dressing room. And to cut a long story short, I remember sitting in a hotel room with the rest of the band and some of Procol Harum with Fritz Rau. Fritz Rau's the Rau of Lippmann Rau, the very big, most famous and most successful at the time agency tour promoters. They brought Muddy Waters and they introduced the blues to Europe, black American music to Europe, sitting in a hotel room with Fritz, and we spent the evening talking music and drinking or otherwise cocktails, and that was the Fairmont Isle gig for me. And then 18 days later, whilst we were recording the What, 10 years after What LP at Olympic, I heard the news that Jimi Hendrix had passed on. So that was really, that was 1970 for me and the Isle of Wight Festival. And let me have a look again. It's such a year. I mean, I'll just read you here some of the things. January we did a UK tour. February we did tour till April the 7th of America. April we did a German tour till the 30th. May the 5th we did a UK tour till the 26th. June the 12th to August the 20th we did an American tour. September the 4th we played Berlin. Oh, I forgot, August the 29th, Isle of Wight. September the 4th we played Berlin. The 6th we played the Fairman Isles. Jimmy died on the 18th, as I said. September the 11th we were in the studio recording, except with a one-off show at the Paris Olympia on the 27th. And on the 30th we did a short UK tour. I guess it was the second leg of the January tour until the 3rd of November. And then the 9th of November until the 12th of December, we were on the road again in America. So what a year. Envious. I'm envious, and I'm sure those of you, other musicians out there, will be very envious too. I was very, very, very lucky to have been able to go through all that, and I suppose one thing, not being out on tour gives me time to think about it, although I don't want to depress myself too much. I do miss it, and I guess everybody misses it. Even the listeners miss the live music, I know. We have our music and we can listen to music, and there's a danger you watch too much news on TV and too many negative things happening, and I've found myself doing that. Yesterday I spent several hours just listening to music, and it gave me a little bit of an uplift. So I can recommend that. We've got to keep music going one way or another. Music and arts. Otherwise, what have you got? Computer games and negative news and boring stuff. Anyway, take care. Have a great weekend, and look forward to speaking to you all again soon. Bye.